I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is Andrew Yang leaves the Democratic Party. He's here in studio to talk about his new party, the Forward Party, and whether he'll run for president again. Plus, we go one-on-one on our basketball court and check out his moves. Later, the issue is vaccine mandates, a debate between Anna Kasparian on the left and Steve Hilton on the right. The issue is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
And welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson, and with us in studio for the very first time is Andrew Yang. We've spoken a lot of times in the field and via Zoom and everything, but it's great to have you in the house for the first time.
It's great to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me.
And of course, he's here to talk about his new book and his new political party. Let's put this book up on the screen. It is called Forward: Notes on the Future of Our Democracy. You can attend a special event for the book and meet him on Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Irvine Spectrum. Tickets and information on the book available at andrewyang.com. And I gotta say, I read the entire book, and it's really, really good because it's really, really you. It's funny, it's different, it challenges a lot of things. Not everybody might agree with all the solutions you come up with, but I think most people agree with the problems, and I think it's very well done, so congratulations.
Thanks, Alex. I wrote it after I came off the presidential trail, trying to share my journey as a candidate, which obviously you saw in the book, but also why we feel so stuck as a country, why it seems like we can't make the kind of progress that many of us would like to see, and I distilled those lessons in the book.
So the thing, though, that's getting the most attention is the last chapter, which is when you announce essentially that you're leaving the Democratic Party to form a new party called Forward. You've got Forward on your lapel right here right now.
Thank you for noticing.
So why leave the Democratic Party?
Right now, polarization is at record levels in the United States. 42% of both Democrats and Republicans regard their political opponents as evil or their mortal enemies. And unfortunately, this dynamic is going to get worse, not better. So I formed the Forward Party to change that dynamic, to change the mechanics, because this two-party system is going to lead us to progressive dysfunction and eventually violence and ruin.
So you say towards the end of the book that if you're a part of the Forward Party, you can still be a part of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. What does that mean? Is Forward an idea, or is it an actual party the way that, like, Libertarianism or Green Party is a party with a slate of candidates and a nominating convention? What is it?
Forward is an inclusive, popular movement, and the mechanics right now of our politics make it such that if you were to change your party registration, you might lose your ability to participate in your local election. So we're also practical. You know, I'm the math guy. This is a movement of reasonableness and reason to try and get our heads up, try and get beyond the partisan back and forth that's making us more angry, more frustrated, and it's dehumanizing our fellow Americans who might be on the other side of a particular issue. And the parties do have different visions. You can be aligned with one party's vision or the other, but the incentives right now that have captured our political representatives make it so that there are incentives not to compromise. And so if you want to see things happen out of Washington, you have to look and say, is it working right now, and then what can we do to change it? And there's actually a real-life example of this where California has led the way by shifting to open primaries. If you had open primaries in states around the country, you'd see better governance and more compromise as a result.
So open primaries, for people that may not know, means that instead of it just being a Democratic primary where you got two Democrats running against each other or more, two Republicans running against each other, everybody runs, and then the top two people advance. Could be Democrat, 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 Republican, Democrat, Green, whatever. That's what we do here. You actually want it to be 5 people that would advance, unlike 2. But the other big thing you talk about is ranked choice voting, which you say is the key to all of this, which is a term some people may not be familiar with. So real briefly, how do you explain ranked choice voting?
I would love to talk about ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is the solution to our polarization. And it's a voting process where you get to support up to 5 candidates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the first candidate who gets majority support wins. So what this does is it makes it so that you have to appeal to a broad coalition. You have to try and get a majority of people on board. If you're the sort of candidate that, let's say, really inflames and excites 30% of people but turns off another 60%, then this is going to make it so you probably don't win. So ranked choice voting in combination with open primaries, would unlock all new political perspectives that right now don't make it because of our duopoly system and our plurality voting system, which is archaic, and it ends up marginalizing a lot of Americans.
Are you going to run for president, or is there somebody else that you would back as a forward candidate?
My focus is on November 22. We have 13 months to try and make meaningful progress for our country. And I think it's going to be very natural for people to be thinking about 24, but 24 will be here soon enough. Let's focus on 22 for now.
Okay, he didn't say no if you just were listening to that. Okay, so the hallmark of your presidential campaign was the big issue of universal basic income, what you call the freedom dividend.
The issue is universal basic income.
There we go. Look at him. That's how he knows it. So this is what you said about it on the campaign trail when we were with you.
Soon, this is going to be the idea of the American people that takes us all the way to the White House.
That was at MacArthur Park, which is actually the start of your book. So obviously it didn't take you to the White House, but a lot of California cities are now experimenting with universal basic income. We're talking about Compton and Long Beach and Oakland and Los Angeles and Stockton, of course, one of the main homes of this. Here is what Long Beach Mayor Robert Garcia told us last year when talking about universal basic income and working with you.
I'm sure the Yang Gang is now all following you. That's quite the online army out there as well.
We love the Yang Gang.
He loves the Yang Gang. I'm sure you love what's happening when it comes to California itself now, a pilot program that the governor endorsed in the budget. What do you make of what's happening here when it comes to universal basic income, and where do you see that going nationally?
California does tend to be ahead of the curve on these kinds of policies, and I'm so thrilled with Mayor Garcia and other leaders who are piloting and building out implementations around the state. A poll just came out that said 2/3 of Americans nationwide now support universal basic income. So what started out as a campaign idea that some people thought was ahead of its time now is right in front of us. The child tax credit that's been improving millions of American lives, it should be here to stay. And if you think about it, that's actually a foundation for a universal basic income.
Up next, we're going to reflect on the 2020 race, which is something Andrew Yang does a lot in this book, including a lot of the fun that he had. You know that we like to dance on this show. So here is a video done by one of your supporters on YouTube, Voignant, I think, featuring your theme song, Return of the Mac, and videos of you on the trail. So feel free to dance as we go to break with Return of the Mac.
So I've never been to a political event quite like this before. What makes this different? What makes the Yang Gang different?
Well, a lot of people here are ready for a different kind of campaign, a different kind of candidate.
That was Andrew Yang on The Issue Is in September 2019. His campaign, certainly unconventional, was a different kind of candidate, including crowd surfing video. His new book, Forward, tells the inside story of the 2020 race. Andrew Yang is back with us to talk about it. That was in MacArthur Park, which is actually the beginning of the entire book. Talks about that night, the first night that I met you, and thank you for the shout out in the book. No, there isn't one, but that's okay. Andrew Yang, let's talk though, because being on the campaign trail, you get to really learn about yourself and also learn about America. What do you think is the biggest lesson you learned about this country being out on the road, actually talking to people every day?
Right now, again, all the incentives are around imagining that we're in these two warring factions. And it's not the case when you actually sit down with Americans. It's one reason why I'm so passionate about the Forward Party.
What do you think you learned about yourself being out on the road?
What I learned about myself was that the more I shared about my own humanity, the better we did. And now I feel this profound gratitude and connection to hundreds of thousands, even millions of Americans who got behind me in the campaign.
Because it really is remarkable, if you think about it, how much better you did in that campaign than a lot of established elected officials who had been doing it for longer and maybe had more money to start off. You were able to do this because of being authentic and being you. And I think there's this great craving for some authenticity in politics when so much of it is not. And part of it you talk about is all these viral moments that happen, right? The fact that you went crowd surfing, and that got more attention here in Orange County than anything you said that day on the stage. And it changed the way you've maybe thought about the media itself and the way that people comprehend information these days.
Yeah, our media organizations have very distinct incentives. I will say, Alex, you're an exceptional journalist because you always try and get to the substance of it. You had your own point of view. But the incentives reward people who will do something that's frankly a little bit more clickbaity and sensationalist than someone who's going to be making a substantive argument. And we adapted, obviously, though it wasn't all intentional. It's not like we're like, hey, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to crowd surf. I mean, it's just like, it just sort of happens. But then you lean into it because you realize that that's breaking through in a way that other things are not.
And people can connect to it. Another way that you connected to people is through basketball. You played basketball on the campaign trail. It was your debate preparation, right, to get yourself in a different headspace.
It's tough running for president. It's tough being a political candidate. I really admire everyone who decides to run for office because it takes its toll. And so just getting the blood flowing and feeling like a normal guy helped me try and gear up for these presidential debates because there was so much attention and pressure being put on the debates every single time. And in many cases on the trail, I wasn't sure if that debate was going to be my last debate because each time they would raise the threshold and then I was like, well, I think I can get to the next threshold, but you know, this might be the last one. So like every time there was an immense amount riding on it.
Well, when we spoke to you on the campaign trail as you were doing debate prep, here's what I told you. We've got a basketball hoop in our studio, so at some point we hope you'll come join us in the studio and showcase your stuff. So, promises made, promises kept. So we're bringing out the basketball hoop for you in the studio. Do you want to come on and showcase your moves?
Wow, you're a man of your word, Alex.
I've taken off the jacket, and let's see how this is. We got to see as if those videos are really true, because you can edit stuff, you know.
Yes.
So here we go. Welcome to our court here.
Fun. So my mic is in the jacket, so I feel like I have to keep the jacket on, but
look at that guy.
Yeah.
Sharpshooter.
Am I going to start dribbling?
Woo! Oh, yeah. Look at that. Andrew Yang.
Here you go.
Oh, yeah. There we
Everyone
go.
watching at home, you should know this man is 6'5" tall.
Should we try? Should we try to dunk it one time?
Do it! Ah!
There we go.
6'5".
Andrew Yang, ladies and gentlemen. The book and the party is forward. Check him out. We'll have the debate coming next. We're over here. This is the camera.
Thank you. It's like, thank you, California.
Yeah.
See you in Irvine Sunday. Oh, here you go again.
I'm willing to lose my job over this. I've been here for 21 years, and this is much bigger than my job. This is about freedom in this country and the governmental overreach that's happening right now.
That is LA firefighter John Knox with me and Marla Tejas on Fox 11 this week. He's among a group of first responders refusing to show proof of vaccination. Meanwhile, In-N-Out making national news with its push back on vaccine mandates. In the Bay Area, one of their restaurants was temporarily closed because of that. We've got quite a panel to debate this issue of vaccine mandates this week. Anna Kasparian is back. She's a host and executive producer of The Young Turks, one of the leading progressive online voices. You can check out her work at youtube.com/TheYoungTurks. Steve Hilton hosts The Next Revolution Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific on the Fox News Channel. He recently launched California Rebel Base, a podcast and newsletter focused on California politics. And just this week, in a courageous protest of eating a hamburger, he supported In-N-Out in their fight against vaccine mandates. This is literally the opposite of a hunger strike. Steve Hilton, thank you so much. Welcome to The Issue Is for the first time. And Anna Kasparian, welcome back.
Thank you.
Great to be with you.
Anna, as our returning champion, let's start with you. You've heard the pushback to vaccine mandates. Why do you think they're important?
I believe the vaccine mandates are important because we have precedent for them in this country's history, dating back to 1777 when George Washington implemented a vaccine mandate on his own troops in response to smallpox. And more importantly, we had a health system, a healthcare system that was overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed with coronavirus patients, which would lead to doctors turning other patients away when they needed treatment for serious illnesses and diseases like cancer. Companies want to get back to work. They want their workers to come back to the workplace and feel safe in doing so. And what we've noticed with the implementation of vaccine mandates is that now hospitals are being alleviated of COVID-19 patients. We're also seeing that the overblown predictions regarding workers quitting as a result of vaccine mandates did not play out.
But we are seeing relatively low numbers among law enforcement and firefighters, especially compared to the population as a whole. Steve Hilton, I know you're pushing back on the concept of vaccine mandates. Why?
Yeah, look, I agree with a lot of what Anna said there, but I don't think it makes the case for mandates. And by the way, I should say I don't need that much of an excuse to go and get an In-N-Out burger, so I was proud to do it this week.
I was saying, that's why I described it as courageous.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's an interesting example to me when you look at what President Biden is saying nationally and Governor Newsom and other Democrats here in California. It seems to me it's an example of them working really hard to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Not that long ago, President Biden was saying that if we could reach 70% of adults vaccinated, that would be great. That would we'd be able to declare independence from the virus. We're way past that now here in California. We're way past 80% of everyone eligible across the state. In some counties, it's nearly 100%. So I don't know why they don't turn around and say, look, we've done a great job at getting people vaccinated. Instead, they're turning it into this very divisive political fight, specifically on this vaccine mandate. It is true, of course, that there have been mandates for other vaccines. The case for a mandate rests on two things, both the private benefit of the vaccine and the public benefit. There's no question about the private benefit of these vaccines. If you take the vaccine, it's highly effective at preventing serious illness or death. That's why so many people rushed out to get the vaccine. But the second part of the argument for a mandate is that there's a public benefit. If everyone takes the vaccine, then we are all more protected. And that depends on the vaccines being effective at reducing and stopping transmission.
It is true, you're correct, that there are possibilities for what's referred to as a breakthrough infection. The point of getting as many people vaccinated as possible isn't just about minimizing the spread of the vaccine. It's about minimizing the number of hospitalizations and the number of deaths associated with coronavirus. At the same time, we also need to be considerate of individuals who might have allergies or other comorbidities or other issues that would prevent them from being able to get vaccinated.
Do you think, Anna, that people, especially government employees, should be fired if they don't get the vaccine?
It would make much more sense to tie stimulus money or relief money or some sort of financial incentive for those who do agree to get vaccinated, right? I think that there should be more carrots, not in the form of raffles. I thought that was incredibly cheesy and clearly didn't work. But if there is a financial incentive tied to it, rather than firing people, that could be far more effective. The other thing that I would like to see happen is for the media to stop turning this into an identity politics issue, right? Mm-hmm. This has been a politicized issue from the very beginning, so much so that now someone's vaccinated status is very much part of their identity. Mm-hmm. It doesn't even have to do with empirical evidence anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with what's right or what's wrong. It's really about this tribalistic nature of American politics. And I would like to see the media be a little more responsible in the way that they cover this.
Yeah, Governor Newsom said to me that he felt like Oprah when he was handing out all that money, and it turned out that that didn't really seem to help in terms of the statistics that we saw this week. Steve, what do we do, though, now? These companies, the government, are having this moment with the deadline. Should people be fired? Should they fight back? Where do you see this going?
No, they should not be fired. It's absolutely obscene and unconscionable, particularly at a time when we're recovering. And it's even more disgraceful that we're actually talking about firing people who work in our healthcare system at the time when we're worried about a pandemic. We're firing people in the police departments when we're worried about rising crime in our cities. It makes absolutely no sense.
To wrap things up real quickly, a final word from each of you. Anna on the importance of vaccine mandates?
I do believe that when it comes to our own bodies, we should be able to make choices that impact us and us alone. The fact of the matter is, this has to do with a highly contagious virus that has an impact on the communities around us. And as a result, I think that the vaccine mandate absolutely does, in fact, make sense here. And I'm glad to see it working.
Steve?
Look, I think that you can be pro-vaccine, as I am, and anti-mandate, as I also am. And if it's not too boring for my first time on the show to end on a note of agreement with Anna, I would say absolutely I agree that we need to take the politics out of it. It's become so divisive and unnecessarily so. I've tried to avoid doing that on the platforms where I operate. I've tried to lay out the arguments and the facts in a reasonable manner. And I think, as I said at the beginning, we need to be pleased with the fact that here in California, our vaccination rate is incredibly high. That is good for everyone who's been vaccinated, but for the community as a whole.
And our health outcomes right now in California better than just about anywhere else in the country as well. I like this, bringing people together here on The Issue Is. Anna Kasparian, Steve Hilton, great to see both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Up next, a birthday surprise from Governor Newsom himself as we go to break. A look at Laguna Beach from the Above Los Angeles Instagram page. What a beautiful shot that is. We'll be right back. Let's end with something fun. This week, I celebrated my birthday and was hoping to take a day off. I tweeted, quote, "It's my birthday, and as a gift to myself, I'm taking the day off and staying away from political controversies today. Go forth and be great, Twitter." I didn't expect this reply from Governor Newsom himself. Maybe I'll break some major news today in that case. As our producer Michelle Pulfrey would say, thank you, Governor, for the troll call. Thankfully, the governor didn't break anything too major this week, but if he does next week, we'll be here to cover it. In the meantime, we say goodbye with another birthday treat, basketball with Andrew Yang.
Do it,
Take a
Alex.
look.
Yeah!